As a child, I always knew that I had a book in me. I was fixated on this idea that I was going to become an author. I just didn't know what I was going to write about. But as I grew a little bit older, I realized that I would know at the right time when it was time for me to produce a book. And on my spiritual journey, one thing led to another. And suddenly I found that I was in a position where I was being given an opportunity to put together a book proposal. And immediately I knew that I needed to write about the soul. I wanted to put more information out there to make the subject more accessible to other people, because in part on my own spiritual journey, I had found that I'd continually grappled with what this notion of the soul, perhaps the spirit, some people refer to the spirit and people refer to spirit more generically. What do they actually mean? What are we actually talking about here? Around the time I was putting together the book proposal, I had an extremely impactful dream. And in that dream, I was shown what I can only describe as the primeval nature of the universe. It was very humbling. And shortly thereafter, I had another dream. And in the second dream, I was given specific directions to make information about the soul available to the wider spiritual community. The first thing to be aware of is that linear time is an artifice that's been created for humanity to give us meaning in this physical world that we are literally dreaming up, because we are continually in the spirit world, yet at the same time we are in the physical world to experience both the joys and the pain associated with being human. And the reason for that is because we need the friction necessary for growth. Past lives are in effect happening contemporaneously, although we may perceive them to be happening as part of a linear timeline. And to take that concept a little bit further and potentially to enter into territory which is a little bit more mind-boggling, we are in fact living in one version and experiencing one version of Earth right now. But in reality, there are infinite versions of the Earth all happening at the same time. And all of this will wholly depend on our belief systems. When one engages any sort of spiritual practice, magical ritual, or otherwise, one needs to really check in to make sure that the ritual, the working is in alignment with the soul. That's the first thing to remember. Secondly, it's really important to set one's intention at the outset of any such ritual to make sure that whichever types of beings that one is going to encounter or work with are beings who are in alignment with the soul. I would add, who are operating for the highest good of all. Meditation is always a good start in terms of developing one's spiritual, psychic faculties. But one needs to do it with discernment. Because we are connected, obviously that means that other people can enter our energy, we can access other people's energy. So we need to make sure that we're making the right decisions, because the more we meditate, the more we access those higher states of consciousness, the more adept we become. And so at the same time, we kind of open ourselves up to intrusion by others. So we need to know when to shut down. You know, we need to have some sort of mechanism to discern where we are potentially at risk, and to make sure that, again, we're attuning ourselves to higher vibrations, higher frequencies in alignment with the soul, and we're not just opening the door to anything or anyone. My singular hope is that people get the information that they need to understand the concept of the soul, because once we have the information about what the soul is, there is, in my view, a slightly, at least, better chance that we will be able to move in a way that is in alignment with the soul. So that's my main hope. Even if it's just one thing that someone finds useful in this book, that's good enough for me.